So I've had the privilege to introduce two Trinity alumni tonight, and now I get to finish the night by introducing a friend who I've known for a bit here in San Antonio, Mr. Leighton W., we'll call him. Born in 1980 in San Angelo, Ryan Leighton Whittington Tafoya is a former professional ballet dancer and model. He now works as a couturier and fashion editor. Thank you for the pronunciation help earlier there with that. Having explored nearly all art forms, he has used each one to relay his message of strength, equality, sexuality, empowerment of women, and overall humanity. These maintain as the nucleus of his work as he continues his efforts to evolve the fashionscape and the human core of San Antonio. It's my pleasure to introduce as our final speaker tonight, Mr. Leighton W.
Good evening. Before I hit the space bar, I'd like to say that I'm incredibly honored to have been asked to come and spend this evening with all of you. I'm also incredibly honored to be asked to speak with such an incredible group of people this evening. I'm not a Trinity alumni, and I'm not the president of Trinity. My mother's sitting somewhere up there who is a Trinity alumni, so I'm kind of wondering how she's feeling being back in her building. One more thing. For a lot of people like me, and a few of the people on the panel of presenters tonight, you choose a path that ends up putting you in a position that allows the public to see you all the time. And I didn't really anticipate the public seeing me all the time. It's kind of complicated, to say the least. I can't say anything without people having a meltdown, it seems. But with that, you're often asked to speak a lot about yourself. So doing television, magazines, all those things, I have to talk about myself all the time, and to be frank with you, it becomes quite boring. So tonight, with the voice that society has chosen to give me, and some of society hasn't really been left a choice but to give me that voice, I'm sorry to anyone who feels that way, I've decided that for moments like this, I have to be a little bit more responsible with the voice that I use. So I'm not talking about myself tonight, and we're going to start now. Most of you are probably under the assumption that I'll spend the next 6 minutes and 40 seconds talking about my love of fashion and the incredible and stylish path that has set me on. However, that's an extremely, extremely small part of why I chose to stand in front of all of you this evening. While this is my work and the incredible photographic work of my partner, Mark Arevalo, that you're going to see streaming behind me as I speak, what these are actually images of are images of incredible, inspiring, empowered women. That is why I'm standing here. On my path, from the ballet, modeling, art, fashion design, fashion editing, and everywhere in between, one of the most interesting things that I've discovered along this little journey of mine is that almost every single incredible opportunity that has been handed to me has come at the hands of a woman. It's not to say every opportunity, but nearly every single opportunity has been given to me by a woman. I was raised by an extremely determined woman, an extremely empowered woman, and a pretty stylish woman, and a very empowered woman. Her name is Rhonda Tafoya, a family name that all of you native San Antonians are obviously familiar with. With that name, you almost have no choice but to feel empowered. However, she is still a woman, and I witnessed that power being stripped from her at the hands of men repeatedly. Although, every time, she got right back up and she started all over again. As I got older, I realized a trend. Men in places of power often seem to either be given or just simply take that power as their own. The women I was around always seemed to just naturally create, develop, and nurture their moments of empowerment. And when given the opportunity, they often help develop the others around them. In all of this, I am not saying that all women are wonderful and all men are awful. I am a man after all, and I love myself. I think I'm pretty fantastic. Just saying. And I also know some pretty heinous women, and I know some extremely marvelous men. But even within that group of not so fabulous women, I still witness men cringe when they watch a woman step too many steps ahead of them, and it is often simply based on the fact that they are a woman. Last year, and especially over the last couple of months, we have all witnessed the abuse that so many women suffer every day: social, mental, and physical abuse. As an example, when actress Rose McGowan took to her Twitter page to open up about the abuse she suffered at the hands of director Harvey Weinstein, Twitter promptly deleted her account. Of course, while most of our verbally violent, powerful men's pages stayed intact, and even a few recruitment pages for ISIS stayed perfectly in place. But a loud woman developing her own power was quickly silenced when actress Asier Argento took a chance on telling a very complicated story of a victim repeatedly returning to her assailant. She was practically run out of her home country of Italy by all the men in the Italian media exclaiming that the abuse she suffered was her fault. And of course, one of our presidential candidates was attacked for all of the choices that had been made by nearly every man that sat in that very seat that she was running for. Marie Antoinette was vilified and demonized for things that were caused by her husband and his father. Cleopatra is talked about as a witch and a queen of darkness and violence when she did what her brother and father before her were not capable of doing for their own people. And it wasn't until after her death that they realized how much she had actually protected them from. When you look back through history, it is very hard to find moments of celebration for women that sat or currently sit in places of power and iconism. And God forbid a woman should age. The stages of life for a woman seem to be from object to menstrual to menopausal to grandma, while for men it seems to be young, driven, successful, and distinguished. His conquests are often celebrated, while hers tend to make her we'll just leave that there. I realize that this seems to have taken a little bit of a serious and a somewhat dark tone compared to everyone else this evening. And as an artist, that's a very easy road for me to travel, even when it is not the intention. With all of these things constantly floating around in the back of my head, one of my missions, through my art, my design, and all of these images that Mark and I create, is a mission of building women up, to put them in a place of power. If I can depict women powerfully, on their own, and in ownership of their own beauty, their own sexuality, without fear of shame, then maybe other women will see that, and whether it's through my work or another designer or artist, they will be inspired to seek out those moments as well, without fear of society's thought. It's these women and these images that allow me to create. Mark and I work at their mercy. Without their ownership of their own empowerment, Leighton W. simply does not exist. This truly comes down to simply being and existing as human beings. We must all wake up with the understanding that no matter your gender, color, sexuality, or ethnicity, we all share the human factor. We all share nearly 99.9% the same exact DNA. That goes for every single human being in this room and on this planet, men and women alike. When you leave here tonight, try to encounter people as a human, not as a man or a woman, and remember that all of us deserve to be and feel empowered. And in order for that to happen, those of us that pee standing up, sorry, I don't know why I threw that in there, might need to start raising our voices to first help the ones that we have held down in oppression for literal centuries to rise up. They can't embrace alone what the world has spent so long taking away from them. And hopefully, if we can do this, the generations coming up that will one day rule the world will never look at anyone for what or who they are or what is in between their legs or color or gender or anything else, but what they can accomplish as a human being and what that humanity can accomplish together.
Thank you so very much, Leighton.
Thank you.
I am one of 4 boys, and I consider my mother to be this most amazing, strong woman in the world. So first of all, salute your mom, who clearly did a wonderful job of you. To all the moms in the world and to all the women in the world, thank you for your voice tonight. Where can we see you? Where can we see what you're doing next?
I'm right here.
Would love to know what you're up to. You didn't talk about your work tonight, but,
No.
but I know just with that inspirational message tonight, I think we'd all love to know where we can see your work and where to find you.
Well, as far as my work goes, I mean, we're working constantly. Mark and I work all the time, so it's not just my work. I mean, we're constantly publishing images. One of the groups that we work for is Euclid Media, so we work a lot with the San Antonio Current and Out in SA Magazine. We're the first 2 people that have started doing a lot of really cool fashion and beauty features for San Antonio publications that they haven't typically seen before. We just put a topless black transgendered woman in a magazine for the first time in San Antonio. That was very exciting. As far as my work, I'm just constantly working by myself privately, losing my mind, smoking a lot of cigarettes, drinking too much alcohol, being depressed as artists typically do. So I'm going to hope that I don't one day just completely lose my mind. And then in the fall, I'll do my show. My next collection will be coming out in the fall. It's Collection 4. It's the 4th collection from my brand. Miss Peyton Thompson sitting over there wearing some of it right now. I'm very excited. Just looking at her is making me excited to keep working. Again, it's without those women that, I mean, I can't function without them. They really dictate my life in so many ways. So, yeah, I mean, just be on the lookout. I'm kind of hard to miss. I'll try to stay a little quieter sometimes, but when you'll find me. I hope. Maybe try.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.